main focus, if not on the men, but women are also on the program listening, part of our listenership. And today we have with us two great gentlemen. Our topic will be Men's Bible Forum. Men's Bible Forum. And today is the 25th of June, 2025. It's now 5:36 p.m. And so, welcome to you all. Thanks for joining us here. We know you could be somewhere else, but let me tell you a bit about a Men's Bible Forum. It is a faith based gathering dedicated to Bible study, spiritual growth, mutual support, and fellowship among men, designed to help them deepen their relationship with God and become better leaders in their homes, churches, and communities. A Men's Bible Forum typically functions as a regular meeting place where men can come together to study scripture, discuss biblical principles, and apply faith to real life challenges. These forums provide a supportive environment for men to share experiences, pray, and encourage one another in their spiritual journeys. They emphasize growth in biblical manhood, discipleship, accountability, leadership, and living out Christian values in daily life. The activities in such a Bible forum often includes group Bible study and interpretation of scripture, prayer sessions and spiritual disciplines like fasting, discussions on topics relevant to men's roles as husbands, fathers, leaders, and followers of Christ, mentoring and discipleship relationship within the group, organizing community service or outreach projects to live out the faith. Interesting. This is the program designed for men with guests who are men, hosted by men, and it's aired every Wednesday, unless it's a public holiday at 5:30 p.m. right here on Love 101, the family station. It's the mailbox. And I'm Pastor Courtney Morris. And I'll be doing solo today. Kevin is not here with us, and we wish him all the best as he is doing wherever he is at the moment. And so to all our listeners, we say thanks for making Love 101 your station of choice. We're talking about the Men's Bible Forum. It's high time that our Christian men return to demonstrating anointed leadership and biblical grit in playing transformational roles within and without the church in our community. Is there a way to interest our men in promoting and building solid biblical expository preaching and teaching? Today, you will hear from Pastor David Pearson, that's the pastor of Mona Heights Chapel, and Elder John Rooms, Grace Missionary Church, and he's a full-time missionary with Wycliffe Bible Translators Caribbean about this topic. And we want to tell you a bit more, but we want to remind everyone that we want to hear from you. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Remember, you can leave your comments via our WhatsApp line at 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Or you may call our studio lines at 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328. We're also live on TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica. Ladies, as I said, you are part of our program. We know your listenership is valuable to us, and you can also pass on the information to men who are not listening. So we thank you for being a part of the mailbox, and we ask the question, is there any way to interest our men in promoting and building solid biblical expository preaching and teaching? And we'll have some gentlemen who will tell us what that big word means, expository. You can participate in the program by leaving us a message via WhatsApp, Facebook, or YouTube. So hello to everyone on those platforms. And indeed, females, remember, no calls or voice notes are allowed. Remember, our WhatsApp number to participate is 876-997-3125. And so we just want to continue to reach out to the family at Fellowship Tabernacle Portmore. We reach out to the family of late Marcia McLeod, Lady Antoinette, Patrick, to the entire family. Our sincere condolences to all at this time and to the family at Fellowship Tabernacle Portmore. Indeed, we want to give a shout out, especially to all the men. I would love if our guests could join us at this time, because when we do our shout out, I want them to help me shout out in a man. I don't want to do this solo. Kevin not here. So Sir Pearson and Sir Rooms, what we normally do at this point, we count to three and then we shout,
Well,
Montreal! So welcome to the program, Sir Pearson, to Elder Rooms. Elder, are you called Elder by virtue of age or by position? I'm just joking. That's just a joke. Um, so after three, we go.
I'm an elder at my church.
What you said both. Um, After three, we're going to shout out Monday. So we're going to count one, two, three, and then we're going to shout
Monday.
Monday. All right, are you ready?
Monday.
One, two,
Monday.
three. Monday.
Man,
Gentlemen, it's great to have you both
Monday.
here. Yeah, see, no, we're not
Man in
with
the
the
place.
accent. Is a patois version we use. I'm going to have to call Lady Joan Richards to help to teach you guys some patois.
Monday.
It is Monday. It's not.
Monday.
It's not
Yeah,
like
man.
hearing somebody say no problem, man.
Monday.
No, at Jamaica, man. Monday. But here, gentlemen, the question that I have to ask you. So, for those who may have just joined us, we have with us pastor, minister. Yes, he is of the Mona Heights Chapel, David Pearson, and we have with us a gentleman who we have known before is here was Gray, Elder John Rooms of the Grace Missionary Church. So gentlemen, here is the big question to you before we start. We have something that we call the draft before we get into the meat of the matter. It's the direct response for the featured theme. Here is the question to you. It says this: are we doing enough? Are we doing enough to help our men promote and demonstrate sound biblical teaching? Are we doing enough? Yea or nay? And if you say yea or nay, I want to hear why you have come to the conclusion. Let's start with Pastor David Pearson.
The answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
Resounding. How is that in patois?
I said no.
Right.
No.
No.
Simple.
I guess you're going to get to it, but and one of the big words in that theme is expository. It says expository Bible reading, and a nice way of explaining is to say
Feed
this:
is breaking up.
what we are accustomed to hearing in church, in most churches, many of our churches, is when we read the scripture, the preacher picks up on an idea and shares his thoughts or her thoughts on what the passage means. Okay? Expositive Bible reading or Bible study is sharing what the scripture actually means, whether or not that's what you thought. It's not you imposing your meaning on the scripture, it is extracting the meaning of the passage from the scripture itself and then imposing it on you, the implications. What are the implications for you? And if we think of it that way, we can see.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
Okay.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
I thought you were finished.
I'll say, if you think of it that way, I think you can see that there's a whole lot more that we need to do in our churches to encourage everybody to proper Bible reading. But also, on another related matter, our churches seem to be very safe spaces for women and not for men, just because of the way we do church. And so we need to do a little bit more.
Thank you very much, Pastor David Pearson. We're talking with Pastor David Pearson of the Mona Heights Chapel and also Elder John Rooms from the Grace Missionary Church. We're going to take our first break and come right back to this topic on the mailbox, Men's Bible Forum. Are we doing enough to help our men to be interested in these things? Come right back after these messages.
The time that Grace could move is
5:45.
Jamaica's gangs are like packs of rats. They live in filth and try to drag us all in there with them, spreading the disease of violence and corruption everywhere. But like a pack of rats, they can be eliminated with your help. If you have information on gangs, call Crime Stop on 311. This message is brought to you by Crime Stop and their marketing partners, Lime and NCB.
At Jatden Medical Services, we specialize in compassionate care, offering oncology, dialysis, urgent care, ophthalmology, and much more, all in one central location at unbeatable prices. And with our Suma Lab, you can get fast, accurate results when it matters most. So call us today at 876-906-6496 or follow us on all our social media platforms. Jatden Medical Services, affordable, world-class healthcare.
We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with Grace.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
Welcome back to the mailbox. You're listening to Love 101 FM, the family station, the number one gospel station here in Jamaica and probably in the Caribbean. We don't know. We don't have the market research on that, but when that happens, we let you know. We have with us this afternoon Pastor David Pearson. We seem to have lost Elder John Room, or we probably have him on phone. But indeed, we're discussing the topic Men's Bible Forum. And before we went on the break, we asked Pastor Pearson, are we doing enough to help our men promote and demonstrate sound biblical teaching? And he gave us his response. It was no. Elder Rooms, your response to this question, are we doing enough to help our men promote and demonstrate sound biblical teaching?
And my response is no. It's far easier to just do what is normal. Did you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. There seems to be a little bit of a delay, but we're hearing you.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, man.
Okay, good. So I'll speak a little slower. Yeah, so my answer is no, we're not doing enough. My view is that it takes a lot more work and patience and more detailed planning to prepare for the men and to engage the men. Their method of learning and engagement is not necessarily by just sitting in the pews and listen to one man speak, but it is more interactive for them, more on the social level, more didactic, so to speak, where they're doing things while they're learning and stuff like that. That takes a lot more effort, and I must say that there are not too many leaders who want to take that route.
Thank you, Elder John Rooms. We want to delve a little bit more into what we're talking about, Men's Bible Forum, and interestingly enough, we started by asking, are men really interested in Bible study? But before we go even deeper, we want to find out a little bit more about who is Pastor David Pearson and who is Elder John Rooms. So I'm just going to ask you, gentlemen, tell us a little bit about your life in growing up, Pastor Pearson. What were the challenges you experienced? Did you envision yourself being where you are today? And Kevin's favorite question is, did you grow with a gold spoon in your mouth?
Good question, a very interesting question. Everybody look at my skin complexion and say that I bound a gold spoon in my mouth. This is Jamaica that we live in. I actually grew up in a near inner city community. Wasn't totally an inner city community, a depressed community, but it wasn't really an inner city community. A working class family. Grew up as a Roman Catholic. And when I was in fourth form in high school, I sensed a call to ministry and I wasn't yet a Christian. I avoided it like a plague because in my mind, becoming involved in Christian ministry meant I'd become a Roman Catholic priest, and I didn't want that. Okay, a couple of years later, I made a commitment to Christ at a camp in Moorlands in Manchester, but campsite was a church camp at Moorlands. And 2 months later, 3 months later, or 4 months later, whatever it is, short time after, I made a commitment to full-time ministry. That year, I ended up at JTS. Went to JTS when I was not yet 6 months old as a Christian. And that was good and bad. My discipleship was in a very intellectual environment, and so many of the church kinds of traditions and divisions that we have experienced in Jamaica, they were a little bit foreign to me because I had so many Christians from different churches around me at JTS. Okay, so that was a positive. The negative is that I really didn't get a lot of church life before becoming a Christian. Since then I've been involved in Christian ministry. Yeah, 41 years now I've been saved. So a little bit about me.
Awesome. Foundation not really set, but indeed you are having hands-on experience apparently. Elder John Rooms, thank you, Pastor Pearson. Tell us, were you born Christian? How things work out for you? Because the name Rooms sounds so popular. Tell us a bit about your
Well, yes, I was almost born a Christian. My parents got married in an evangelical church, and they were both in the choir. Daddy sing tenor, mommy sing soprano, kind of thing. And I was in Sunday school all my growing up years. By the age of 9, I came face to face, just happened to be paying more attention in children's junior church at the time, when we had some visitors, pay more attention when you get visitors. And they talk about hell and heaven. And I could not think of any point in my life when I did anything to avoid going to hell. So I decided that day I have to sort that out. And so that was 9 years old. It was very funny, because my daddy was driving an old-time Vauxhall car, and a big brother of mine put a metal pipe, galvanized pipe, into the tailpipe so the car whistles. And my daddy didn't seem to mind. So I remember I was being counseled, and I heard when the car started up somewhere around in the parking lot, I heard a whistle, and then one of my brothers came looking for me, and he just saw what was happening and left. And I heard when my father turned off the car, silence, and he waited. He was my Sunday school teacher at the time, and so he must have been very happy about what was going on. So basically, from there, I grew up in the church, in youth fellowship, always in Sunday school and so forth, sang in multiple choirs, including a whopping youth choir that was tops in Jamaica, out there at Emmanuel Missionary Church. Worked closely with Youth for Christ coming through, was involved in ISCF, the wonderful revival on Manchester High School campus that impacted nearly every church in Mandeville. Youth for Christ, big time, were talent. involving Talents for Christ and so forth. We're, right up the line. But the one big thing is the way in which we were mentored as young fellows. I remember back in the day, we were very happy to go to the men's meeting, even though we were pre-teens and so forth, early teens. We were very happy to join the big man them in the men's meeting. And they are always, aside from doing the devotionals, doing the Bible study, reading the Bible type of thing, they were always looking for opportunities to share their faith. And it was something like come young boy, we're going to save some soul. And we gone to a Pisa or something, and I saw them in action like that. Later on, it was Youth for Christ. And I learned to share my faith there as well. And I was always approaching men and boys. And most of the men were well older than me. But, God gave me boldness. But it was a kind of engagement that followed me through life. I knew that the way men and boys should do things had to be different from the way. So that was my growing up years. When I was in secondary school, see the fellows them sort of chasing the girls, and you want to follow suit. Them fellows used to stop me and say, "Rooms, aren't you supposed to be a Christian? Christian, where I go?"
You weren't one of those who went to church to go try to find a girl and got saved.
You never hear it,
that kind of thing.
You never hear me. You weren't one of those who went to church
looking for
a girl and got saved. Because
it's not that I went searching for girls and got saved. I was already saved, but I wanted to be like the rest of the fellows them,
So it was the other way around.
But those same guys who were not saved, they would stop me in my tracks and tell me I'm moving in the wrong direction. So basically, my life has just been kind of good and clean and exactly. But I'm thankful. In hindsight, I'm very thankful because
Gentlemen, we want to find out what has changed over the years. I'm hearing Elder Room speaking about an excitement and a joy in going to a men's meeting, an excitement and a joy of wanting to go out there and. We say in those days, put a star in our crown. What has changed over the years? Why have our men become disinterested? Because one of the reasons I believe for us to find solution, we have to find what was the reason that caused the shift. Because it was evident that in those days, the charge was led by men to Bible study, do the praying, do all that. What has changed significantly? What shifted? And I want us to discuss this on the other side because we're up on our second break. But I want you to think about it because the men and boys who are listening, if we're talking about a Bible forum, I want to get them interested. What are we going to do to solve what there seems to be either neglect or a shortcoming in ensuring that our men get this kind of training or become interested and excited about it? Get all excited. Go tell somebody that Jesus Christ is King. Remember them song there? So this is the mailbox. I'm Pastor Gordon Martin along with Pastor David Pearson and Elder John Rooms. We're talking about Men's Bible Forum. We're going for a break and we come back shortly.
I'm Itana, and human trafficking is everybody's business. Call 1-888-PROTECT to report suspected cases of child trafficking.
The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6 o'clock.
This Emancipation Day, experience a night of powerful praise and purpose. CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica with Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Saj, John Mark Wigan, hosted by IT Ellis and Nadine Blair. Gates open 2 p.m., showtime 5 p.m. Tickets at select outlets island-wide or online at spuropen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for updates. CC Winans, More Than This, a concert with a cause. Friday, August 1, King's House East Lawns.
You can see the face, but not the heart. Those who want to do wrong. So many times.
Bless up. This is Christopher Martin. Human trafficking is a crime. Let's unite to end human trafficking. Be wise, open your eyes. Spot them, stop them, and report them.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
No shadow at the dark. No shadow at the dark.
I am a man, I am a man, I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man, I am a man.
Welcome back to the program, The Mailbox, here on Love 101. We've been doing this, Kevin and myself, for the last 13 years. Wow, non-stop.
Wow.
And so the Mailbox, I believe, is the longest mail running program in the island, if not probably in this Western Hemisphere. And we thank God for giving us the grace for doing such. And so, yes, aired every Wednesday, unless it's a public holiday. We even hosted programs during COVID. But gentlemen, Pastor David Pearson, Elder John Rooms, how can we, is there a step-by-step sort of routine relationship guide that we can give to help to find a solution to what currently exists? How can we help our men to become interested, to get them out in the first place? Men don't even seem to come to church, really. How can we get them interested? Yes, we have identified, we learn differently. Are we applying that which we know to ensure that something happens? Pastor Pearson.
Wow, listen, we can stay here. How long the program lasts, by the way?
We only have about 20 minutes leave.
This is a very, very difficult question to answer because there are so many facets to it, right? We have to know what has gone wrong. I didn't have a great experience in terms of time of being involved in it with Youth for Christ as a person who went to Youth for Christ, right? But in a very short space of time, I was involved in the leadership of Youth for Christ. Not as any position leader, but I was always in the office helping them with Genesis. I was a Genesis man, Genesis 88. I was a backdrop man and things like that. And we did a lot of stuff. Discover Jesus man, as John was a Discover Jesus person. So. And here is one of the things. This is one of the problems. One of the problems is our churches have become too independent. Youth for Christ has suffered a whole lot from many churches doing their own things, and our young people stop going to Youth for Christ. When you went to Youth for Christ, we're meeting Christians from other churches. We're involved in a wide variety of activities that no one church could provide. Okay, we were going out into the streets. We were playing football. You know, I had a lot of my Christian friends were in Youth for Christ. Okay. When I became ISCF staff worker at one time, it was something very similar. ISCF prayer meeting at Bethany in Harford-Tree, all kinds of things, Walkerton and so on. And so what we had was activities, a lot of activities that our young men were involved in. Okay, and out of these things, you carry somebody going to a church and going to give a testimony. But my first time speaking at church, I gave a 3-point testimony. Still remember it. Okay, a 3-point. That's before I could even preach a sermon. Give about 3-point set testimony. And so one of the things that I think many of our churches are in danger of losing, if they have not already lost it, is that we do not have enough activities for our young men. A young man don't want to come to church and sit down and listen to somebody speak. He want to be doing something. Let's say one more thing. I'm really from Swallowfield Chapel, Elim Gospel Hall first, and then most of my life at Swallowfield Chapel. I'm really a missionary to Mona Heights Chapel as a pastor from Swallowfield Chapel. Swallowfield Chapel had a work day, one Labor Day, where we rebuilt some kitchens. This is in Kingston. Some kitchens for some shut-in people in an inner city community in Kingston. And I have never in my life seen so many men excited about Jesus. We were there doing things, putting up kitchens, nailing board, fixing roof, people, and the whole day, the only thing we talk about is Jesus. Men, some men I haven't seen in a long time, them come out.
Right.
And I think we are in danger of, if we have not already lost that, we have lost this kind of practical element to our Christianity, where many men feel unused.
Agreed, Pastor Pearson. You know, all three of us seem to have that Jamaica Youth for Christ thread in common, because I was a director for Kingston Youth for Christ after Andrew Stone. And for me, Youth for Christ offered a channel that church didn't. Youth for Christ seemed to have become more like church, so why not just go church alone? Elder Rooms seem to have become more like church, so why not just go church alone? Elder Rooms. You have to turn your radio down.
I did talk.
You have to turn your radio down, Sir Rooms.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening. Are you hearing me okay now?
We're hearing you, yes.
We're hearing you, yes.
Okay, good.
Feedback. I say I'm hearing you.
I don't have the radio on.
I say I'm hearing you. I hear that echo in your...
Oh, an echo. Yes. I wonder what's happening. I have no idea. I had taken off the ear. Okay, let's see. So are you hearing me okay now?
Yes.
We've been hearing you well, you know. It's just that we hope we don't get feedback.
Okay.
Excellent now. It seems to have been
I detour everything that David... Yes. The earphones are back on. So I detour everything David says. I want to add, so I'm not going to repeat those things. I'm going to add by starting off to say that there are lots of things we can look at as being the cause of the decline in engagement with the men. And one of them, along the lines of the economics and social life, a lot of our men have found themselves having to hustle to meet the demands of life, you know, to be able to get married, to be able to send their children to school. A lot of hustling is taking place that they cannot even come to church. So you find the men even working on a Sunday. They don't make it to Bible study because they're out on the road trying to make that extra dollar to pay the mortgage or even buy one little house, to get married, to maintain a family and all of that kind of things. A lot is on them. And what makes it worse is that we actually make a demand on them to have a certain, I don't want to use quality of life because I don't want to tarnish that, but a certain standard, you know, to be like the Joneses, so to speak. They're challenged to live like that, and so they, even though the economy doesn't provide for it necessarily all the time, they feel they have to fight for it, so they have no time to sit down for a while. And so I concur with David in terms of creating these activities that we can get the men to become engaged in. I find that when we have the annual Kingston Keswick men's gathering, by the way, and one of the big pull with the men's gathering is food. So let's always not forget food when it comes to the men. Sometimes I suggest that it's a little shameful that it's food that brings us out, but use it. When we have those meetings, often the men would come to me and say, when are we going to have our next meeting? In other words, they don't want it to be simply an annual thing, but they want to see more meetings taking place. And then when you look at the age groups of those persons who are asking for it, You see where it's more like it's as they get older, they seem to have more and more need for it. So the younger ones are out there doing all sorts of things, but as they get older, as they they confront life, especially as young married men and stuff like that, you find that the need to get together becomes greater, but we are not facilitating it. We don't have persons available to say, oh, let's convene a meeting. Let me tell you, the annual men's meeting you see happening, it's just less than a handful of persons who are available to plan and manage that. The men are very busy, but then there is a real need for a gathering, and that gathering can be by the seaside catching fish, around a wood fire cooking the fish, going out to watch a football game. So you don't have to be a baller to go, because this is another thing. You want the men to be involved in the sports thing at your church. They feel they need to be able to play the sports. No, they can just be there hanging with each other. You know, they don't have to be a good domino player to be at the domino game. So when you're having these events, it's not just for them to play the game, but for them to be there hanging with other men, chatting all kinds of things. Every now and then an older one have something to tell the younger one about women, about children, about how to, get married and blah, 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 or to get a good career. But we do not make time for each other, and that's a big problem. And we have to sit down and strategize and plan these extra times when men can get together. One of the things I want to end by saying is that when these extra times take place, yes.
Question.
I'm just going to end by saying,
how is it that the secular world and the Muslims seem to somehow have a pull on men, and we as church seem to have a push away from us? If we have scholarship and they will come, how do we engage them? You see, because over the years we've been talking about this for so long. From me was 25.
Long time.
Why that's over 30 years ago.
But Courtney, if we talk about it and we don't put anything in action, it's like
exactly. So that's exactly where I'm going to Pearson.
Right.
How, when, where are we going to implement and ensure that the very things that we've been talking about? I know Marvel Gospel usually have a good football program. Whole Life Ministries usually do it as well. Bishop Delford Davis used to have the cricket thing over here in Portmore, but we're not seeing that happening again. How do we, and then Christian ambassadors, I know the team still exists, used to pull, and then when you pull the persons, then you get a chance to, give some word to them and have them thinking, deposit something with them before they go.
But there's something else, Courtney, something else. I think that we can be a lot more practical also in terms of preparing our young men for life. We have skilled tradesmen in church, and yet still we have so many unskilled young men who have nothing to do. And we could get our young men and we could start discipling them through the trades. We do have plumbers in church. Get a youngster and start teaching him plumbing. You'll be surprised how much money plumbers make. Okay? Washing machine and refrigeration, carpentry. Get them in and start mentoring them that way. Teach them, get them. Many years ago, I had a tailor. He always had a printer with him. The printer was always ironing pants. But he was learning. Later on, he'd have his own tailor shop, And I think we can be a lot more practical with our faith. You ask a question about Muslims, that's what Muslims do.
Yeah, and I say sometimes we are afraid to use our own culture. Sometimes I think, I don't want nobody to beat me up now, but may I say it before we go for the break, is this. Sometimes we use too many biblical names to say what our programs are. Want to just say, gentlemen, call a program, come make a whole reason. And by the way, that's still scriptural, because Jesus said, "Come." The word says, "Come, let us reason."
Yes.
We need to appeal to them to get them to be able to talk to them. As a matter of fact, we should probably be going to them more than anything else, because they don't run for them domino table and play. We're up on our final break. It's 6:15 in the evening here on Love 101 FM. And we're talking to Pastor David Pearson and Elder John Rooms. Men's Bible Forum. How can we get men to be reinterested in expository biblical exegesis? We'll come right back after these messages.
Digicel Remix, the summer promotion, 100 winners for 100 grand. And the time by Digicel is now 6:15.
Wow.
Remix the summer with Digicel. 100 lucky winners win $100,000 each, plus surprises all summer. To enter, buy a SIM, 7-day plan or higher, switch to Digicel. Be an active postpaid or Digicel Plus customer, or receive US $15 or more from abroad. Gift a friend a plan. They could win $25,000. Remix the summer with Digicel. Authorized under Section 58 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Promo ends September 15, 2025. Conditions apply. Visit DigicelJamaica.com for more info. Digicel, better connected this summer.
This Emancipation Day, experience a night of powerful praise and purpose. CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica with Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Saj, John Mark Wigan, hosted by IT Ellis and Nadine Blair. Gates open 2 p.m., showtime 5 p.m. Tickets at select outlets island-wide or online at spuropen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for updates. CC Winans, More Than This concert with a call. Friday, August 1, Kings House East Lawns.
I am a man, yes. Strong man, integrity man. I am a man.
Theme song there by Kevin Bailey himself from many years ago in Youth for Christ. Kevin and Robin were the men. And this is the Mailbox. I'm Pastor Courtney Morrison. I am flying solo today, but I have two special guests. Pastor David Pearson of Mona Heights Chapel, and Elder John Rooms from the Grace Missionary Church. This segment, we want to concentrate a bit more on the Men's Bible Forum that we hear that's coming up. But if there was anything anyone wanted to add to what we're saying, please do before we get into that. But we need to do something. Winston Clark says this. We have some coming from
I want to
our Facebook. I wasn't a part of Youth for Christ, but just reading the Bible.
I want to pick up.
1 second, Elder. Let me just read this, please. I wasn't a part of Jamaica. I wasn't a part of Youth for Christ, but just reading the Bible and understanding the practical side of Christianity. We made church practical for all ages, men, women, and children. The problem is the ministers being too caught up in having church and not ministry. Winston Clark says that. Yes, Elder, you may go ahead.
Yes, I want to pick up on where we left off when you mentioned reasoning. Because if we're to look at the Rastafarians do have their form of reasonings as well, how much are we spending time among the men reasoning as we should? And this is one of the things we would love to see happen through the Bible Teachers Forum, which is not strictly for men, but we want to find a way to have a big pull on the men for the Bible Teachers Forum, because along with all the activities that we do or that we'd like to do, must include the reasonings. We must be able to spend time talking about scripture, talking about why we are saved. 67% of Christian men in this country cannot explain salvation. They cannot explain why they are Christians. And I know men who are quick to explain how to become a businessman, quick to explain how to use a weapon, You know, they're part of gun clubs, and their mentoring approach is to get fellows into gun clubs and talk about why it's necessary to shoot somebody if they are trying to harm you and that kind of thing. But they cannot talk about their faith, and they say it out loud.
Why is that? Why is that so low? Why is that so?
When it comes to
where does the buck stop? Why is it that our men aren't able to explain what has caused that problem? I remember we have limited time. We have about 7 minutes, and remember, we want to talk about the Bible Forum on Saturday.
Yeah,
I think a part of it is
you know, I'll quickly say that we have majored in the minors and minored in the major. It's a matter of priority.
Like what are some of the majors we have minored in, and minors we have majors?
Yeah. So every Rasta can tell you why I'm believing. Every Muslim can tell you why I'm believing, because those are the major content of their engagement. They talk about it. They teach about it all the time. Everything they do, they're making sure the indoctrination is taking place. So we might get caught up with activities, but we may never get into the reasoning part. And we have a good time, but we still... The other thing is sharing your faith. We have to develop the approach, develop the practice of sharing our faith, because that is how we also inculcate what we truly believe. We try to share it with somebody, we better get it right. But we're not doing those things. So we do a lot of other things and activities, but it can't be activities by itself. It has to be activities with a particular strategy to indoctrinate our people. And I'm using the word without apology, because that's what I think is missing. We're not indoctrinating our people.
Let's hear from John. Let's hear from David.
Yeah, I would suggest also that I mentioned earlier, say it again, is that our faith has got to be a part of our whole lives. Church is not not to be, what's the word? It's not, we shouldn't live dichotomized lives.
Yes.
The church is a part of Christianity is a part of who we are. When the scripture says, always be ready to give an answer for the hope that lies within you. That's not talking about me talking about church, you know. It's talking about me going through the rough and tumble of life. And in that rough and tumble of life, people see me different. Christians are not exempt from the problems of this life, you know. We have the same problems like everybody. We have money problems. We have relationship problems. We have problems with our children. The big difference ought to be how we live. And when we live that practical life as Christians, that we can then be able to share our faith. To piggyback on what John is saying, if I don't know how to describe or share my faith, I don't know how to explain the gospel. If I don't even know how to put a Christian principle in practice in my marriage, how am I going to be able to show hope to anybody?
You know? That's right.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, my thing is,
I've been a lot of work to do
since 1983, right? And I've heard all of this over and over and over and over. When are we going to make it a reality? I think part of what we need to do is do what Jesus did. We need to go and stop hoping that people will come.
Right.
And then when we go and they start following, then where we go, they will be. Let me see if I can say that one more time. We need to go
where people are.
And so when we are real and genuine, they will look and see where we go and follow us to where we are going. You know, it makes sense. The Bible Forum, Bible Forum.
But I think the goal is lost in the translation.
John. So let's talk about the men's Bible Forum.
So the men's Bible, it's not a men's Bible Forum, but it is a Bible Teachers Forum, and the idea came about from our men's gathering of 2 years ago. That is the 2024 men's gathering. Some of us men began to talk about the need to have serious expository Bible teaching and so forth. And this was because John Newfield was with us at the time last year. So one thing led to the next, and we put a group together of a mix of clergymen and lay persons, and one woman is among us. And we have, we are just about incorporated the movement. We have come up with values, with our mission and core values and so on, to out of a common interest shared by a group of evangelicals, whose sheer concern as solid Bible teaching was fading more and more into the past. Little or nothing coming out of diligent study was being passed on to the next generation as churches prioritized what was superficial or at best tangential to the exposition of scripture. And we feel that men especially are showing a real weakness there. And so we will be prioritizing men. We want to have our first event, and we will be announcing that date soon. We want to also set it up in such a way that there is a signature image, that when you see this image, you know it's the Bible Teachers Forum. We want to set up the seating arrangement in a way that is not just simple theater style, but it's more, I was going to say confrontational. In other words, we're facing one another in this session. In fact, in the first session, there's going to be a kind of, the first event, there's going to be a kind of interrogation about the veracity of the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus Christ and what that means in our life. So we are going to be raising serious questions, and we're going to allow people to raise serious questions, the kind of hard questions that come through a reasoning setting where no question is outlawed. It's that kind of a thing. So we want to engage in debates as well, so that we can arm the individual, especially the men, in rightly dividing the word of truth and applying it to their daily lives and being able to account for their faith wherever they are. So we're going to be announcing the date soon. Our three first presenters are Dr. David Henry, pastor of the Swallowfield Church, and Paul Hemmings, and Erica Campbell, who is the teacher of many pastors at the Jamaica Theological Seminary. Those are the first three. And as I said, it will be very interactive, giving opportunity for feedback, discussion, and even debate.
So the forum is not this Saturday?
It's not this coming Saturday, because one of our key speakers is not available for this Saturday. So we are putting everything together. We're working towards making sure that first event is significant, and we want to make sure we have all the right people in place. So a lot of work is going on in the background in preparation for it, and we will make an announcement.
Thank you very much.
Of the date.
Courtney, if I can just pick up back on that.
You have 15 seconds in which to comment.
I've created a group called Preacher Youth, which is doing
you have a group called what?
A group called Preacher Youth.
Preacher Youth.
Preacher
Youth.
Yeah, which is geared towards helping young people with some of these things. We have had one event already, but it's coming out of this whole Bible Teachers Forum also, that we want to engage young people in this also.
Nice. 10 seconds, Sir Elder Rooms. 10 seconds. I know you're able to do that. I challenge you.
Yes. All right. I'm going to challenge all of us, and I hear you with it.
10 seconds.
Courtney, use the language. Use the language. Language is key and important to our men. Jamaican we chat. So time we start chat the language.
Same way. Thank you very much. We'll say thanks to Dr. Nadine Blair, Operations and Programs Manager, Jermaine Johnson, our producer, Niku Angus, our technical support. Thanks to our guest, our pastors, David Pearson, pastor of Mona Heights Chapel, and Elder John Rooms, Grace Missionary Church, and full-time missionary at the Wycliffe Bible Church Caribbean. We end the show with this quote: "Blessed is the man whose strength is in thee, in whose heart are the ways of them." Psalm 84, verse 5. That's it for our show this week. Catch you next week, Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025, July 2, 2025, for Laughter and Masculinity with pastor comedian Leighton Smith. Same place, same time inside the mailbox.
Right.
Next week, Monday. Thank you, gentlemen.
Monday.
Blessings.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man.
God bless you. Monday. Walk good.
Yes. Strong man. Integrity man. I am a man.
You're tuned to Family Radio, broadcasting from Kingston, Jamaica. This is Love 101 FM, and it's now 6:30 p.m. Time for the evening temp.